Hey everybody, Tom from How to Wrangler here. Today we're going to do a little bit of a different video. This video is sponsored by Auxbeam.com.
Like I said, this video is sponsored by Auxbeam.com. They got some great LED lights. They're based in the United States. Check them out, guys. They got some really cool products.
And they sent me this awesome LED light bar that I'm going to be installing on the Jeep. And to mount it, I'm going to be using a Rugged Ridge Windshield Bar mount. So I'm going to be doing a kind of a two-part installation here. So let's get right to it. Okay, so for the first step, I'm going to be removing this little panel right here using a Torx T40 and just take off these 6 bolts. Okay, and there we go. Let's set that aside. All right, so that's step 1. All right, the next step in the preparation is to remove this panel right here so we can have access to the firewall that enables us to run wires through. So if you start with the bottom, you can start to pop it off and the whole thing will come off just like that, okay? And I'm going to fire up the GoPro here, okay, and show you guys this little hole right here is filled with foam. That's where we're going to be running through into the Jeep. What you want to do is, now again, I'm running a manual transmission here, so there's also a hole through the firewall underneath if you have an automatic transmission down here by the clutch. But because I have a manual transmission, I have to run through up here. You also may find it easier. So what you're going to want to do is run a hanger and kind of move it around a little bit through the foam until it comes out the other side. Let me come around here and show you guys. It's come right through here. Okay? That's where our wires are going to be going through. Okay, so the kit from Auxbeam came with 2 sets of wires. These are the ones that we're going to use for the JK. They have 2 loops. The other ones don't. The other ones have, they're not full loops. Okay? And it's got this little grounding kit, which is a transformer, and also attaches the button, which we're going to be wiring inside the actual Jeep. Okay, now before you hook up the wires to the battery, you're going to have to cut this wire, okay, and strip off some from here. In order to fit this wire through into the cab. Now, if you don't have a manual transmission and you are just running the wire straight through on the big opening in the bottom, you probably won't need to do this, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of floral wire and hook this up. Hopefully nice and secure here, and attach it to the end of my hanger like this, okay? And then I'm going to pull this through and then reattach the wires inside. Okay, so here we are on the other side, and I'm going to snake the cord straight through into the Jeep, just like that. All right, so I'm going to use a Torx T30 bit to remove the cowl here so we can snake the cord that's going to hook up to the light bar underneath here. So here we go. Going to run this right up around, and you don't want to crimp it in the water seal here. You want to go around and follow this wire that's right here. Okay, and then we can slip it under here, just like that. Make sure it goes over the lip and down so you're not pinching it. There we go. Then I'm just going to re-secure the cowl. There we go. Okay, for the next step in the process, we're going to remove the nuts that are on the battery terminal on either side. Be very careful not to drop these. Okay, now we're going to hook up the wires that are going to connect to our LED to those terminals. Okay, so the first one I'm going to attach is going to be the black wire. Just going to loop it over and put the nut back onto the battery. Not going to tighten it down all the way quite yet, just so I can swing it around. Like this, not have it be in the way. Okay. And tighten that down. There we go. Now be very careful, you don't want to touch this to anything else. I'm going to put the red one over and start to tighten that down. And there we go. All right. Now the next step, we're going to mount the transformer right here. You can see this hole right here. So I'm going to get a bolt and we're going to mount that right there. Okay, so it's going to hook up the transformer here and bolt it down to this piece of plastic. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Just tightening this by hand, and then I'll tighten it down with a screwdriver. Okay. And just going to point it this way so that the wires will run along the back of the engine compartment. Okay. All right, so just to retrofit everything and make sure that everything's going to fit, I put hand tightened down the bar, and I've got the light bar in place, and running the cord on the outside down here, I can see I've got a little bit of slack. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim down and put the connection in the middle of this bar, so it's going to be completely hidden. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do that, and we'll go through that process now. All right, so what I'm going to do in order to snake the wire through the bar is I'm actually going to clip this wire right about here to leave some room, right about here. So I have some room. I'm going to butt connect these together inside of the pole. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to strip this down, I'm going to strip this down, and I'll come right back. All right, so once I've clipped the wire here, you're going to see that there's a red and black wire. This one I've already stripped down. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. Basically, this part is going to go through the top, and the hole is small on top, so I'm going to need to cut this all the way down. So I'm using the razor, I'm going to cut a little slit and start pulling this apart. And just need very little pressure. Start the slit open. Make sure you don't cut yourself. Kids, get an adult to help you. And let's go all the way down the wire, pulling it apart, exposing the internal wires. All right, so I'm going to cut this all the way down to the base here so this can go in nice and smooth, and we won't see any exposed wiring. It's going to go through the pipe the entire way down until it goes into the engine compartment. Okay, now for the front disconnector, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to actually cut this plastic sheathing off so we can expose the inner wires once again so we can fit them up through the grommets of the bar. And I'm just going to break this and peel this whole thing off, and then we're going to clip this, and I'll come right back once I got this whole thing peeled off. All right, so I'm going to cut the wire close to the top here, about 3 inches down, so that I'll be able to still reconnect it, but it'll fit through the tube going to the top, just like that. All right, so I already got this side done. I'm going to show you guys how you crimp this on here. You get your wire twisted up nice, and you're going to pop it into the end of the crimping tool. You want to have it on this side so you can see it, and then cramp it down just like that, and you're solid. Okay, so you want to get both this side done, and then we're going to run the wire up. I'm going to strip these wires down. I'm going to run them through the middle, and then we're going to crimp them down to the top once we finish that up. So I've got these wires stripped, and I'm going to go through the hole right in the bottom here in the middle. It's going to be nice and neat, and the wires are strong enough you can just slide them up and all the way, pull them to the top right here, just like that. And they'll hang out there, and then you can loosely put these screws on, and then we'll cramp down the top piece right here to the wires up here, and we'll be all set. All right, so now I'm going to have everything ready here. again, you want to make sure you got the crimper so you can see what you're doing. And I'm going to stick this end right in here. And crimp that down. All right, beautiful, that's attached. And do the same thing with the red one. This one's a little tight. But just like that, there we go. All right, we're reattached. So we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I have these things on here already. They're very simple. They came with the kit. It's just the bolt goes through here, and then there's nuts that travel back and forth through here. So I have them lined up for the 3 holes here, but if you have a different mount, just keep them loose and you can slide them back and forth, put them into place, and then tighten them down. All right, so I'm gonna mount this onto the bar off of the Jeep. I've got my neighbor Nate here helping me out. He's actually gonna be starting his own Jeep site soon called the Drunken Jeeper, right, Nate?
That is correct.
So keep an eye out for that. I'll put a link on a future video so you guys can hook up with Nate too. All right, there's one. Now, one of the things that's great about the way that this bar, those mounts that I was just showing you how to put on, you can adjust the angle once you've got this mounted up on top of the Jeep, so you can aim it down to the ground a little bit if you want. They're, very easy to adjust. All right, so I'll spin it around. So on the back here, I'm gonna take this grommet out and put these wires through one at a time. Hopefully they'll both fit. If they don't, I'll just go without the grommet. If you squeeze the rubber and make it into like a football shape, you can get the wire through, kind of. There we go. All right, so I'm going to pull the grommet down right to the end and then run the wires in here. Just like this. Make sure you push them in the right direction. Put the grommet right back in so you get a neat seal. Okay, so what we did here is we ran the wire in and then wrapped with electrical tape. So this is nice and neat because the wires actually start to be exposed right here. But we wrapped it all the way through and pushed that through the grommet so it comes through. And then the other end down here, we actually ended up using, to make sure we got them straight through, we hooked them up to a hanger with some electrical tape and pulled it through to the end. So this whole section is now set up. It just needs to be connected to the other end of this on the top, and then we can connect it to the bottom of the bar, and we're pretty much set. But then the rest of it is just installing this bar. So last step here, guys, after you got everything taped up, we didn't show that, but we taped everything up here really nice. We're gonna hold this up. Think you got it there?
Yes, sir.
Definitely a two-man job here. Thank you, Nate, for assisting.
You're welcome.
Plug that in, and didn't anticipate the extra wire problem, but we'll fold that over like that. There we go. Okay. Got your side in there?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right, now we're going to bolt this down and tighten everything up, and I'll come back and show you the final product. All right, so everything's on here, just tightening up the bolts. You might notice that when you attach the top bar, there's a little bit of a gap or it's off a little bit. We tried to adjust for that, but there's not much you can do. Just tighten it down. I think that's just, you know, a little bit of a flaw in the metal, but it's not that big of a deal. Everything's nice and flush together. And as you can see, if you do it this way, you got no wires coming out, nothing here. It's just the bar going around, little wire sticking out back here, but it looks really nice and neat. And I'm going to tighten all this stuff down. I'll show you guys just the inside where you can mount the button, and then we're going to turn it on. It's getting dark already, so we'll be able to demonstrate and show you how bright this thing is. All right, so it's getting pretty dark, but I just wanted to show you guys. Now we've got this wire coming through. I'm going to run this along the bottom, and I'm going to put back in this panel. So you want to tuck it underneath from the top like that and pop the seals back in. And then there's a little piece of tape on the back of this. You can mount it right here on your steering wheel or right here, wherever you like. I haven't decided exactly where I want to mount mine, but push the button, turns the light on, and I'll give you a little demonstration of that over here in the front of the Jeep.
Hey guys, this light bar from Auxbeam is incredibly bright. You really got to see it in person to appreciate it. Here's a shot from my drone. You can kind of get an idea, but just check it out.